Hello everyone, it's Catnap here, and in this video I'm going to be covering every single canon TIE Fighter type in all of Star Wars. I will not be covering TIE Punishers, TIE Avengers, TIE Phantoms, TIE Aggressors, TIE Crawlers, or the TIE Autos, because their canonicity is iffy at best, aka, they're not part of Disney canon. And this video is about canon types, and it's already pretty long. So maybe at some point I'll talk about all of the Legends TIE Fighter types. But yeah, so I'll be covering Imperial, First Order, and Final Order TIE Fighter types in this video. But I also will be spending the least amount of time on the latter two because it's the Imperial era TIEs are the more popular ones and the ones I actually wanted to talk about. So let's get into the video. The TIE prototype was made by Cinar Fleet Systems, and it looks a lot like a normal TIE fighter, though it had two cannons on the wings, and was not capable of flight in atmosphere. The prototype was one of two designs Cinar Fleet Systems made for the Empire, but it was considered too impractical for the Empire, and the Empire went with their other design. The standard TIE fighter is very similar to the prototype, but it had more armor and was more sturdy. The standard TIE fighter has two cannons under the viewport and two hexagonal wings. It has no shields or hyperdrive that can sit one person. It is very hard to become a TIE fighter pilot, and they were considered better than any rebel pilot, and that actually is true. The Interceptor is much faster than the normal TIE fighter and has four cannons, one on each of the prongs on its wings. The Interceptor is slightly slower than the A-Wing, but is faster than the X-Wings often used by rebel pilots. The Interceptor also has no shielding or a hyperdrive, but it makes up for that because of its high-tech balancing system that allows it to perform hard maneuvers without making the pilot lose focus on their target. The TIE Bomber has more armor on it than that of a normal TIE fighter, and has an additional ball on it that can hold bombs. TIE Bombers hold one person and are slower than normal TIE fighters. TIE Bombers created to take out precision targets without damaging the environment around them, though they can do widespread damage with damaging the environment around them if necessary. TIE Bombers were considered not great against starfighters, but they could do insane damage to capital ships. The TIE Brute was made to fight pirates, and they had very good armor and weapons. The TIE Brute had more armor platings on the wings and cockpit area, plus another cockpit on the side, with two heavy laser cannons and a droid piloting system to make flying easier. Imperial officers didn't like TIE Brutes because they thought they took it away from the use of larger capital ships, but many pilots liked it for its firepower and its protection. The TIE Command Shuttle was made for officers to move in between Star Destroyers. The TIE Command Shuttle has a large interior with a refresher and a small lounge. The Command Shuttle resembled the TIE Bomber, but with the wings flipped, and the shuttle did not have any hyperdrive, but it did get some shield and some light laser cannons. The boarding craft looks a lot like the TIE Bomber, but it has a boarding clamp instead of a bomb chute. It has laser cutters to cut through the hulls of ships that don't let them board, and also has a boarding ramp. The boarding shuttle is used by IMS to inspect freighters and to transport small squads of stormtroopers to ships. The TIE Striker was made for in-atmosphere flight and not the vacuum of space. The TIE Striker was made by Cinar Fleet Systems, like all TIE fighters, but it was developed by the Tarkin Initiative. The TIE Striker has light laser cannons, heavy laser cannons, and a bomb chute. They were considered a waste of funds by Imperial admirals who thought normal TIEs were fine in the atmosphere, even though their weaknesses inside a planet's atmosphere. That meant only a few were made. Most TIE Strikers were kept on Scarif, but a few were kept at other Tarkin Initiative research facilities. The TIE Reaper is used to transport troops into battle. They mostly transported Death Troopers, and because of that, the crafts were given shields and heavy weapons. They were much larger than that of a normal TIE fighter, and were often protected by a couple of TIEs. In fact, they were the largest TIE fighter ever made. The TIE Defender is one of the best ships in the entire Empire. They were commissioned by Grand Admiral Thrawn and were made to his exact specifications. It has shields, a hyperdrive, 6 heavy laser cannons, 2 light laser cannons, a warhead launcher, tractor beams, and much more. The TIE Defender is able to make a bad pilot into an amazing pilot and is faster than any Rebel ship. On one mission, Vader tested the TIE Defender and said it was an amazing ship. Vader said he would relay his support on the project to the Emperor, which would cause it to go into production at the factory on Lothal. Darth Vader gave Grand Admiral Thrawn some tips about how to improve the TIE Defender. He told Thrawn to make his controls simpler, give it heavier weapons, and to make it even faster. Thrawn complied with Vader, and test flights showed how strong a fighter it was. Thrawn wanted to put it into production immediately, but he struggled to fight for resources against Krennic and his Death Star. After the rebels destroyed the fuel depot on Lothal and Thrawn disappeared, the ship was taken out of production forever, leaving only a small squad of defenders still around. Also, if you can't tell, the TIE Defender is my favorite Imperial ship. The TIE Advanced V1 was a prototype for Vader's TIE Advanced X1. It has heavy shield and armor, life support systems, a hyperdrive, 2 light blaster cannons, a projectile launcher that could fire trackers or missiles depending on what specifications you selected, and much more. The TIE Advance was faster than most Rebel ships and had solar panels on the inside of the wings and not the outside, which meant it was a more armored ship, but that also meant that it generated less power, which meant it a little weaker than a normal TIE fighter, but it makes up for that with its less energy-intense systems. The TIE Advanced X1 was built to Vader's exact specifications. It is bigger than the TIE Advanced V1 and has more armor. Vader's TIE Advanced X1 is slightly slower than the V1, but it makes up for that with its heavy weapons and shields. Its weapon includes 2 heavy blaster cannons, a tracking device launcher, life support, and a Class 4 hyperdrive, which means it's slower in hyperspace than a Star Destroyer or a TIE Defender. The TIE Advanced also comes with some of the best sensors in the Empire and can track pretty much any ship. The Mining Guild is the largest mining company in all of Star Wars, and because of that, the Empire granted them a TIE Fighter variant to protect their assets. The Mining Guild TIE Fighter has a chunk missing from each of their wings, which makes them less powerful than an Imperial TIE Fighter, though they do have more visibility because of it. The Mining Guild decided to add life support to the TIE Fighter, and some of the Mining Guild's best pilots upgraded their ships with shields and upgraded sensors or some heavier weaponry. The TIE Outlander looks like a normal TIE fighter, though it has folding wings, so it can land anywhere. Though we don't know much about the Outlander, we do know that the average one does not have life support, and shields are also most likely not there. And they're most likely the exact same as a normal TIE fighter other than the wings. We can also assume that Moff Gideon upgraded his Outlander with life support and shielding, just because he's a high-ranking Imperial officer, and he's most likely going to want some protection. The Royal Guard TIE Fighter looks just like a red TIE Interceptor with a prong coming out of each of its dagger wings. Only certain members of Palpatine Royal Guard could get access to this fighter, and you can watch my video on all Royal Guard types explained to see what Royal Guards can use this fighter. It has 2 heavy laser cannons, 4 light laser cannons, hyperdrives, and shields. Some of them were also given ordnance launchers, warhead launchers, and many other modifications. Major Erlich von Ard was one of the First Order Ace who flew to an old Royal Guard TIE fighter. He only appeared in Star Wars Resistance. When the First Order came into power, they made up their own TIE fighter variants for their own use. The First Order TIE fighter was given light shielding, but the skill of the pilot is slightly worse than Imperial pilots. It was very similar to the Imperial TIE fighter in shape, but its color was altered slightly, being pure black with kind of a trans like red cockpit. The First Order Spec Forces TIE has even better shields than the normal First Order TIE, and it also has a hyperdrive. The TIE fighter has room for a pilot, a gunner, and has a basic life support system. A Special Forces TIE fighter was the one that Finn and Poe used to escape the Star Destroyer in The First Awakening. The TIE Silencer takes inspiration from the TIE Defender, TIE Interceptor, and TIE Advanced. It has heavy shields, 4 heavy laser cannons, and some rockets. TIE Silencers are bigger than most TIEs and can fit a couple of people in them if you squeeze them in. The ship is only given to the most elite First Order TIE fighter pilots. The TIE Whisperer was made sometimes after The Force Awakens, and it looks very similar to a TIE Interceptor. It was made to Kylo Ren's exact specifications, and it has shields, a hyperdrive, 2 light laser cannons, and 4 heavy laser cannons. Kylo Ren's Whisperer was destroyed by Rey in Rise of Skywalker. It was only given to top aces. The First Order TIE Bomber has a light shield and has heavy ordnance launchers. It looks like a combination of the TIE Silencer and a TIE Bomber and works exactly the same as an Imperial TIE Bomber, other than the fact it has those shields. The TIE Echelon Shuttle was the First Order's version of the Lambda Shuttle. It can fit a large group of people in it and has heavy shields and a hyperdrive, and light and heavy laser cannons. A giant model of the Echelon shuttle is currently at Galaxy's Edge. The Echelon is the second largest TIE fighter behind the Reaper assault lander. The TIE Dagger is the only TIE fighter used by the Final Order. It has 2 light laser cannons and 2 heavy laser cannons. The heavy laser cannons being on their wings, and the light laser cannons being underneath the cockpit. It has some of the best solar panels of every TIE fighters, but it's just kind of a redesign of the First Order TIE fighter, so they kind of mid, honestly. I think they're probably worse in most other TIE fighters. Thank you for watching this video, and if you liked it, please like and subscribe. It would mean a lot. This was definitely one of my longer videos, but yeah, with that, peace out.